Hi, my name is Ant Clifford and I run a digital agency in Sheffield called Creative Stream. And we're going to look at why do church websites matter. So a few years back we did a survey of 25 churches and we asked them a bunch of questions, and here are the most interesting things that we found out. 85% of first-time visitors to one of these churches have visited their site before coming on a Sunday or joining in with other groups. And 80% of those first-time visitors found the site on Google. Social media is also massively important. Make sure that you've got a website and a good presence on social media too, especially where the people you're trying to reach are hanging out, whether that's, say, Facebook or Instagram or something like that. 50% of all visitors to these sites had actually downloaded a sermon, and 80% of first-time visitors had actually listened to a sermon before they came to the church. So it's really important to make sure that you've got a good presence of your talks. You know, people can listen to you, find out who you are and get to know you. They want to make that choice, they want to think about that. So to have your talks on there is incredibly important, whether that's via a podcast, using a service like SoundCloud, or just having them as files to download. Absolutely fine, very important. 60% of visitors to church sites couldn't find the information they were looking for, or even a contact number, which is pretty tragic. Put yourself in the shoes of a visitor who might want to visit your church. Can they find a map? Do they know where they're going to go? Can they find your church services or the groups that you meet with? Make sure that they can get in contact with someone if they've got a question. Moving on. Technology is good for church growth, but the important thing is don't be afraid to take on new technologies. You're bound to have people in your congregation and in your community who really care and do a lot with new technologies, whether that's with being creative with music or with art or photography, or whether they're writers. There's so many different ways of engaging. Get them involved. Make it part of who your church is. A few key points. People that visit your site take just 10 seconds, sometimes less, to decide whether to stay or leave. Hit them with something impactful. A picture of you doing community, a way of engaging, a call to action of some kind. 94% of Google users don't tend to go past the first page. If you keep your website up to date, so you're investing in it regularly, so you're putting either news or new events or new talks on your site or new photos, that's going to help you be ranked higher in Google. So if someone's looking for your church in your city or your area, it's great if you can be on that first page. Facebook is still the biggest referrer for churches in the social media world. It's really important to have a Facebook page. If you don't want to do this yourself, find someone who loves Facebook and has a lot of community on there. Get them to run the page for you. You can do so much with a Facebook page. You can have the location of your church where you meet, you can put events up there, you can put news up there, and you can start groups and communities on there for support and for communication, whether that's a worship team, a leadership team, or just a general community for everyone in the church. 7 common mistakes on church website homepages. Number 1, there's nothing new. Make sure you keep your site up to date. If that's not something you're keen to do and you're in charge of it, delegate it to someone else. I'm sure there are people that would love to commit to updating, but we would recommend every couple of days, fantastic, once a week, once every 2 weeks at the very least. Really important. You're a community. Make sure that your website reflects that. Number 2, too deep. Keep it simple. Don't get too theological, too deep, too advanced on your website. Keep it simple. This is just information. This is just to show that you've got a community and allow people to find you and engage with you quickly and easily. This is a way into your church. Number 3, no sermons. Make sure that you've got your talks on there. Make sure that people can listen to who you are and find out who you are by listening to your talks. Number 4, buried information. When your church meets, where your church meets. Don't bury it in an internal page. Make sure it's there on the home page. Make sure it's there on the footer on every page. Number 5, not visitor-centric. Make sure that your home page grabs someone's attention quickly. Images are a fantastic way of doing this. If you've got someone who would love to take photos, even on their phone, phones are fantastic nowadays for taking photos, get them to snap a few pictures, with permission of course, and get that on your homepage. Really important to show who you are through the photos of your congregation. Number 6, people who don't look like you. There are lots of stock images out there that are a really quick and easy way of populating a site and making it look lively and interesting. Conceptual ones are absolutely fine, so maybe for Christmas or Easter you might find some stock images that kind of show those concepts and they're going to help you communicate them and market them. Don't use images of people that aren't in your church. Find someone in your church who loves to take photos, even if it's with their phone. Make sure you get permission and get pictures of your communities, especially when you're out doing things. Pictures of people talking, people doing community, having food together. They're what you want to be showing on your website. Number 7, an emphasis on buildings. It's fine to show a picture of your church building if you have one, but just remember that it's about the people, not about the buildings. Think about your site map. Get out a piece of paper. Think about the journey you want to take people on when they're in your website. Don't make it too big and complicated. Don't have too many levels. Keep things simple for people. Make sure your site works well on mobile devices. A lot of people will be searching on a mobile when they're looking for a church. You need a certain amount of good content for Google to pick your site up. So make sure you don't have an image-heavy site. You do need to balance it with content too. Make sure that any social media that you're doing is linked to from your website so people can find it easily, or indeed embed like a Twitter or a Facebook feed into your homepage. Don't try and do all social media platforms. Pick the ones that you think you can work with.